Hello, Deepak.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Okay, we have a good RSVPs. Let's see how many turned up.
How
Hope
was
you're ready.
the? Mhm.
Yes, please go ahead. Sorry.
How do you feel, Deepak, about now being champion? You heard about your new posture as a community leader. It's
Ah,
called champion. So all community leaders have now
yeah,
this name.
yeah. This title, it's good, right? It always, Atlassian always appreciates all the efforts which we are making. Sometimes on the social media, sometimes with the articles, videos, and all. So they always appreciate everyone's effort. I mean,
Yes, yes, that is correct. And I actually thought it was a cool name.
yeah. How's life treating you?
Nice. It's very gray and a little bit rainy today in Cambridge.
Okay.
And yesterday it was very sunny, and the whole family was here. So I feel really lucky that we had the get together when the sun was out. And now I'm doing the presentation, and I don't care that it's gray and rainy because who cares?
Cool. Till the time participants will join, maybe you can just try it out if presentation is working for you or not. Or
Yes,
do I have
so
to
I
give any
will.
additional permissions for
Yes,
that?
I will share the screen. So I'm going to share the entire screen, and I'm going to move the presentation here into that screen, and move to presentation mode. And I think you see it. I think you
Yes,
see it.
yes.
Yes. And when I will need to do a demo, I will just move this, and then people will see my screen. And now I need to find back my page that I wanted to share. So you now see, 1 second. Do you see a Confluence now? Yes, you see Confluence. Yes. So I think that this is, from technical
Yeah.
perspective, this is what I
Yes.
need to work.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Perfect. I think let's wait for uh,
yes, sure.
5 more minutes and then we'll start. Till the time
Yes.
people will join.
No rush.
Okay, for the sake of others' viewer respect, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Myself, Deepak Rai, and I'm the community leader of Mumbai chapter, where we used to host virtual as well as in-person events. From last 3 years, I'm associated with the community leader title and handling this Mumbai chapter. Today, we have a very interesting topic where our guest speaker, Reena, is going to cover on different aspects of tools, Jira Snapshot, along with Xray. And just small introductions about her, as she is the CEO or co-founder of Red Bull Limited, and they have interesting tools which they have created within Atlassian platform. So without taking much time, I will hand over to Reena. Thank you for joining and please enjoy the sessions. If you have any questions, queries, feel free to add in the comment sections. Else, we'll take out all those questions at the end of the sessions. Over to you, Neera.
Thank you, Deepak. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining virtually. And I personally hope that in the future I will be able to join you physically in Mumbai. But today I'm joining you from Cambridge in the United Kingdom, where the weather is very gloomy and rainy, and I hope it's a little bit nicer in Mumbai. So, few thanks, Deepak, for introducing me so kindly. Um, I want to tell a little bit about my own background. Before I was the CEO of Radby, so quite many years ago, I was a co-founder of a medical technology company, and hence when I set up the Radby as an Atlassian solution partner, I decided to focus on Atlassian for life sciences. And since then, the main focus when we work with customers is to work with people in the pharmaceutical and medical technology area in regulated contexts. And I mentioned that because that's a, a very there's a very specific set of expectations when people in those industry in those type of environment do tests, because they always in medical technology, if you release new software or new software version, you have to generate release documentation, and it's very important for you that that this will be structured in a certain way that you later on, even 5 years from today, can show it to an auditor and and have proof that you have done everything legally. So this is for me bread and butter. That's the environments I work with regularly. And from that type of context, also the app Snapshots was born, as well as the close collaboration with Xray, because over the years I found that Xray is really well suited within the Atlassian ecosystem to support these type of environments. But having said that, I also discovered over the years that many other industries care about uh, being able to report nicely about their test efforts, and that is one of the highlights of the topic I'm going to present to you today. So before I jump to the deep end and share with you the information I wanted to share and show you the stuff I wanted to show, I will ask you. Um, we don't have really a polling system here. At least I don't know of a polling system here, but it would be nice if you just jot into the chat. There is a common chat thread here. How What's your relationship to test management? What's your role? Are you a project manager? Are you a software QA? Do you write automatic tests? So just that we will all get a little bit of a feeling of who we are here today, so that I will it will help me a little bit know who am I speaking with. Um, I will start maybe while you are a, writing here, and thank you, Deepak, for your contribution, and Piyush, thanks. Wow, and you are from Ace Pune, so I have no idea how far Pune is from Mumbai, but thank you for joining. As you know, probably from everything that happened over LinkedIn in the last few days, um, there was Team 25 just very recently. I've had the honor or and the pleasure to travel and be there, and I want to share with you an anecdote there that is related to our topic today. So, in Team 25, you have the academic part where there are presentations and user stories where people come to the stage and present how they have used Atlassian. But there is also a commercial part, which is basically an exhibition of booths of different vendors from the ecosystem. And it's a little bit mind boggling, at least to me, but these spaces on the exhibition floor are pretty expensive. So just to rent the possibility to be an exhibitor on the floor of Team 25, and a rather nice booth, say not the minimal size, but also not the large size, it costs $100,000 just for the permission to put your booth in this specific place. And then add to that cost all the shipments of the actual walls that you put in the exhibition, the swag, and the 10 or 15 team members that you fly over to team and make them participate. So the cost of actually participating in team as a vendor with a booth is pretty high. And I was discussing, I had have a lot of friends among the vendors, and I uh, came to one person with such a booth, and I discussed with him a little bit how he's feeling about the exhibition and their participation. And he was a little bit disappointed. He said, because I congratulated him, he had a very, very beautiful booth. And they said, yes, but we are here in this specific position, and we don't feel that there are a lot of people passing here because the main action is somewhere else, and we are not sure that our booth location is optimal. And what I want to say by that, why is it related to this presentation, is that this guy, although they invested hugely in the booth and everything, he did not control the success of his participation because he was really dependent on the traffic and the system of the conference as a whole to bring people to the booth. And this is kind of similar to us when we do tests and when we write tests. Sometimes, as testers, we want to be very, very focused on writing the next test in whatever tool that we have available, running it in whatever environment that we have available, but we maybe forget to understand that the fact that we have written a test and we have executed the test, this is not enough to actually make this test impactful. We need to see the whole system. So where do the developers work? Where do the project managers work? How does our documentation going to be captured for this specific test so that our test efforts are not staying just in our own little silo, but they really create a change for the whole team. So whoever knows, whoever needs to fix the bug that we discovered, for example, or whoever needs to add our test to the release documentation can easily do that. And that is basically the focus of my presentation today, to to show you a certain system of how we can make sure that whatever efforts we put, especially in automatic tests, this effort can be leveraged to be part of the traffic of the whole system and useful in the bigger world, especially for the rest of the company and for the product that we need to ship. So uh, that is kind of the opening. I will share the screen now. And I will also ask, one second, where do I share the screen? Here it is. Sorry. One key questions that many teams are thinking about is how does how much do they invest in automatic tests? And for many teams across the globes, as well as in the industries that I'm working with every day, the answer is that the investment is high. They all There is kind of a common perception that it is a worthwhile investment, because, of course, all the normal things, it's great for regression testing. You can test as much as you want. The actual test cycle no longer involves manual efforts, or involves less manual efforts. But the answer to how much are you investing in automated tested tests in many cases is actually very high, because we automated tests do need to be adjusted and updated and maintained, and it's not a one-off effort, it's an ongoing effort. And hence it's very interesting to make the most out of them. The second question that I want you to think about is whether you, your team, or your company cares about test coverage. Because sure, the first purpose of a test is to find if there are bugs, or to find if there are new bugs, or on the other way, to guarantee that the software works as intended. But for many cases, we are very much interested to know what actually did we test, and can we document that we covered so much areas with our tests. And again, talking a little bit about the business context, everybody is either agile or wants to become agile. AI is, of course, the new big buzzword in the world, and even when you talk about tests, you are thinking about AI, and this all comes with a big word for many large customers. In particular, everybody wants to do digital transformation. Not everybody, but all the large companies are interested to digitally transform themselves into a better future where they will be agile and they will be able to release more versions than ever before. And an important notion to remember, and this is also part of what I'm going to show today, or a key concept in the whole flow that I'm going to share with you, is the concept of DevOps, which basically for me means integrating all your tools together. So creating the flow that helps your test efforts as well as your automatic test efforts to be impactful in the real world, and help you actually release faster, even if you care about test coverage, and automate that, do that all automatically. So DevOps for me is an important notion to bring into the mix because it highlights the need to integrate between tools to do that automatically and also to consider the needs and wants of other teams. So the testing team does not work in isolation. They don't only work with the development team, but they work with a bigger company, which needs actually also to have the releases with all the release documentation and with all the product management collaterals. And you, as a tester, want basically to serve everybody, not just look at the small silo of actually finding the specific bug in this specific next story that was just developed. So opening the aperture. And well, there is a teaser question. Do you feel like these type of buzzwords, trends, and ideas impact you in your workplace today? If yes, I will try to address it from the testing point of view. So all these things together, so the need of a company to do digital transformation and be more agile is really driven, or is the success of that eventually depends on how is the flow that a company manages to adopt. And what I mean by flow, what is this concept? Each person in the team will work on their own task. So each tester will be focused on the areas that they need to test. The developers will be focused on their stories. At a certain point of time, there will be a version. So that is basically the goal of the whole effort, is to create the next product version and to release it. Yes, so we are all here not to make tests, not to develop stories, but to deliver the next upgrade to the software. And these are to achieve that, we typically have manual tests. So even if a company invests very heavily in automatic tests, it's very, very rare to see software delivered only after a full coverage of automatic tests. There is, in virtually all cases, there is some manual test that is involved in the release effort. And then there is an automatic pipeline that is typically built around this idea. And that is developers developing stories and potentially developing automatic tests, or testers developing automatic tests. When the new version release candidate or an incremental update is being deployed, then there is a battery of tests that is running through it, and there are certain reports that are generated. And very often, these reports are basically files that are dumped into a file system, log files and test reports that are just piling up in a certain disk. Now, very often, this is not enough. So there's a human being that needs to translate the various results that we received, both in manual tests and in the automatic test, into release documentation. And believe me, in many cases, this can be a huge number of release of documentation, looking through many, many different artifacts and reports in different shape, forms, and systems. So that means that when we are all ready for release, it's not so quick to actually release. What needs to happen is that when we are ready to release, in terms of the software being ready and tested, there is still a considerable effort to generate those release documentation. And believe me, from the systems and the teams that I've been working with, these efforts can be anything between hours if you are super efficient as a team and you have all your systems in place to support the release documentation, or take weeks. So imagine that the software is ready, everybody knows that it can be shipped, but there is still an extra effort that delays the actual business value, because we all need to remember that the your effort do not bring any business value until the release is not out and you are delayed by a few weeks. I can tell you an incredible story that I just heard recently from one of my customers. And I'll quickly stop the no, I'll leave the screen share because it's so complicated to turn it on and off for me. So recently, last week when I came back from Team 25, I had a call from a customer who I worked with a while ago, and they have decided historically to have the following system. They selected um, a way to write their tests, not inside Jira, but in another system, which I will not mention. Then they found a platform that helped them develop automatic tests, along with a bunch of a team that was connected to this platform that developed for them the automatic tests. But this was not enough for them because they needed all this release documentation. So they hired another team which was only writing manual tests and doing the release documentation. So imagine they basically invested twice in testing the same software and doing very, very similar tests. Once they had invested in doing all the automatic tests and working with their developers on doing those automatic tests, and then independently of that, they paid another company to do manual tests for the same functionality, just to create those release documentation. And now, after a year of working like that, they discovered suddenly that they realized, suddenly it hit them that they are paying twice and that it's too expensive for them to pay twice for actually testing the same thing. So if their automatic tests would have been structured and put in the right architecture, they could have actually used them for all these documentations. And not only would they have saved the cost, they would have saved the time because, of course, all the release documentation would be ready in much shorter time and they would be ready for release much quicker. But okay, that's why now they are making an effort to change and improve the way they work. So what we want is to find a test flow that also supports the formal reporting of test coverage. That's the bottom line, because if we have that, then we can leverage the same efforts that we do for testing, also for release documentation, and we can speed up the whole cycle of releases. The tools that we will be using to set up this flow will be Jira and Confluence as the heart of the system, Xray as the tool where you manage your tests, and these are manual tests and automatic tests. So the nice thing about Xray is that it has a nice support for both manual and automatic tests. And that means also that it supports you in the transition. So because you can always start with manual tests and later on move to automate some of the tests. And I've even seen the other way. So let's assume that you had a feature that you had automatic tests for, and then you change it. You didn't have time to develop the automatic test, but you can set up manual tests quickly to be able to release it. On Confluence side, we will be using uh, snapshots with the extension to snapshots that specifically provides the traceability reports. So these are the two apps that basically RADB develops. And the demo today will be done on cloud. Very similar implementation can be done on data center, but just it's more convenient. And also most of the people are already using cloud, so it makes more sense to run the demos on cloud. Again, it's interesting if people here want to say whether they are using Jira, Confluence, or Xray for their test efforts. It will be just nice to see who we have here in our event. Okay, so let me now move on to the real life thing. And I will share with you a quick demo. I will start from the end because the end result for us is that we want to have documentation. And this is an example of release document that is pretty hard to do if you don't have all the information inside Jira and Confluence. And it's a classic traceability report for a lot of environment where you need to show test coverage. And I will explain what you see. It's a Confluence page. There is the classic structure of an official document. You have the purpose, scope, reference, all that. And then inside this document, you have a table of data that comes all the way from Jira. So I will just explain. If you have, this is a hyperlink to the Jira issue. This is a functional specification. This is how it is structured in this specific system. By the way, before I continue, this is in our sandbox. So the site name is radb-sandbox.atlassian.net, and it is open. So anybody in this community and around the world can just log into the system and check out these pages and the same places where I'm looking at the moment, because it's basically open um, open to join. So the way we structure the data here is that we have functional specification issue types, and they are tested by a set of tests. So we have here a whole battery of 6 tests that are testing this specific functional specification. And there is a mix here of both manual tests. So just for my own organization, the tests that are GAL 20, GAL 22, GAL 23, these ones are manual, and the DXJ ones are automatic tests. And I will dive deep into them and how they are actually structured and connected with our development pipeline. And what this table here, it's a snapshot table that was taken this morning. So I took it earlier today, this particular version of data. And it is built as a traceability report where the higher level, which is what you see on the left, is functional specification. And the tests that are linked or that are covering each of these specifications. And then the test runs, the latest test runs that is the related to the version that I'm currently interested in, which is our version 2.0. So I will scroll down. GAL 19 is one functional specification. Then we have GAL 24, 26, and so on and so forth. And each one of them, when it is covered by test, it's shown here in the table. GAL 33, for example, is missing test coverage. So I can clearly see it here that I'm still not ready for release because I need to link it to test. And I can also see which tests were actually executed and what is the result of this execution. Here in this particular case, I can see that is there a question? I hear someone in the background. Okay. Here in this case of GAL 41, I see that we have actually a failed execution, and I see the test, the defect linked here. So I can directly from here go into the defect and check what's happening there. In an ideal situation, when the release is ready, basically what I will see here is that all my functional requirements for this version are covered by tests, and that the latest execution of this test for this version is green. That's what I want, unless of course there are justifiable bugs or bugs that we decided to accept. Uh, each time, so the data here is a snapshot of the data as it was this morning. And I will just quickly show you how this table is configured. So I moved the Confluence page to edit, and this table is a macro on the page. And here I actually defined the 3 level of hierarchies that I'm interested to see. I can add more levels, and I can have a table that has a single table level as well. So there's full flexibility here in terms of the snapshots. How many levels do I want to include in the snapshot, and what's the relationship between each level? And the scope of issues that are brought into each level is defined by this JQL. So it's actual JQL. If I copy this, just to explain, if I copy this and I go to Jira, I can plug it here. Yes, project equals GAL, issue type is function specification, order by a certain order. I will search, I will find exactly the issues that are brought by snapshots. And basically what happens each time that a snapshot is executed is it goes to Jira, it does the search based on the scope that is defined, and brings into Confluence fresh version of the data. And for each issue, we get exactly the fields that we have defined here. So I defined issue type, key, and summary. I could add whatever fields I have in my Jira. So Snapshot supports all the custom fields that you have inside Jira. The third level in this particular case is the deep integration that we have with Xray. It goes all the way into the test runs, and it can surface the test run information as well for all the test runs that are related to the tests. So I could linger on and give, and maybe later on you will have questions. I will be happy to answer about exactly how to configure a snapshot. But for now, I hope that you understand what snapshot is. It's basically a macro that is on a Confluence page. You can define in the macro the scope of issues that are copied into Confluence. And when the issues are copied into Confluence, they stay static there. So from that moment on, if I change Jira, nothing impacts the page. And that makes it very ideal for release documentation, because once I approve this page or I export it by PDF, it will never change. And whatever happens in Jira, even if Jira is totally removed, this page and this release documentation will stay intact. Okay, moving on. What I want to mention here is that we had both manual tests, and we can see here one of the things that we include in the test column is the type of tests. I have manual tests here, and I have generic tests, which is Xray language to designate a automatic test. So if I go and open this test in In Xray, we see it's a test issue type. And if you are familiar with Xray, you will be recognizing this icon. I'll scroll down. Here are the test details from Xray, and this is a generic test. A generic test means that this is an automatic test that is automated in code somewhere else. And this somewhere else, for this particular example, is a GitHub repository. So we have here this repository, DevOps PyTest Xray, which contains my automatic tests. The test developers have developed the test, and each one of them is linked, each one of them is represented by an Xray test case. So DXJ1 is a specific file here with a test case. And 1 second, I will actually show you. I hope this is large enough. I will increase it slightly. This is the actual code base in PyTest. And this is an annotation of a certain tool. I will give you all the references later on, where I annotate this specific piece of PyTest code to be related to this Xray test. So this file is linked to DXJ1, which is my Xray presence or my Xray clone for this test. How do I execute it, and how do I link the execution flow back into Xray? I will quickly demo, and then I will go a little bit slower and show you exactly what is happening here. So 1 second. Yes. This is a test execution. And I will decide in this test execution to link any of the automatic tests that I need to run in this particular, in this particular cycle. I have DXJ1, which we just looked at, and I have another automatic test, which I also want to include. So I have this automatic test cycle, which I want to have as to include these two tests. Then what I do, and the nice thing about this particular implementation is that I, as the product tester, I don't need even to go to GitHub or to trigger a build or to be relying on a build. I can do it all here from Jira Automation. I can trigger the test execution right from here, and also ask that a new snapshot will be generated if the test is successful. So going back 1 minute here, this is the snapshot that will be generated if the test cycle is successful. I just want to share, we have the timestamp of where the snapshot was taken recently. It was taken this morning at 10:23. So if my demo will be successful, so all the tests will be triggered and will be successful, and the snapshot will be generated, then we will see here a new timestamp. Going back to here, and I will trigger the workflow. This is now going to my GitHub, and let us look at GitHub Actions. So this is basically my pipeline. This now has now been triggered just by me. And what it does at the moment, it runs the tests. It will be pretty quick because these are two tiny tests that are being executed. They have been executed successfully. And now the snapshot is being taken. If I go back to this page and I will refresh the page, basically what happens now is that snapshot is being taken. It has been kicked. And in a few seconds, we will have here a new up-to-date version of the same report with the most recent information. So that is basically the full cycle closed. Yes, we'll just let it finish there. Yes, so I have a refresh timestamp. And if I go to this to this report, it's now the most up-to-date report. Now, what else can I show you? Yes. 1 second. And inside Jira itself, if I refresh the view in Jira, you see that these tests have now passed, and the information about their execution is already fully inside the Xray. So Xray not only has the results of the execution, it also has the timestamp as well as the two evidence. And the two evidence are basically the logs that was generated by the pipeline in regards to this execution. So we have the full documentation back in Xray and whatever we need inside the report in Jira, in Confluence. And that's basically, if we go back into this presentation, I will go again through what basically we have seen in work. So what I demoed is a pipeline that is connected into Xray. So the test reports themselves are integrated back into Xray. Xray is the location where both the manual tests are being executed and the results from the automatic tests are being accumulated. And then we have the product manager who can easily go into Confluence and have his snapshots report ready there for release. So all the time of generating release documentation is dramatically shortened. So these are the tools that I've basically used to reiterate. It's Confluence and Jira with Xray and snapshots. And in this specific demo, I used GitHub Actions and PyTest as the platform for automatic tests. The same principle holds with other tools. So if you work in GitLab, in other test environments, you will probably, the implementation will be slightly different, but the principles and the capabilities is there. And the important thing is basically integrate back to the data into Xray from whatever CI/CD cycle you have. And I see that there are a few questions there. Let me just finish and I'll be ready to answer your questions. So I just demoed it. And this is a diagram of everything that is happening. So you have, for each automatic test, you create an Xray test. And this is basically a placeholder where you can report on the actual test runs for this test execution. Then you trigger the CI/CD pipeline. So everything here in gray is your CI/CD pipeline. And specifically what happened here is there is a trigger to start the test execution. There is an interface or an integration where basically from the test execution, we transfer to GitHub the list of tests that are included in this particular test execution, so that the list of tests is specific, defined based on the test execution. PyTest then generates the test runs, and there is another layer of integration where all the results are coming back to Xray. And then there's this part of integration between Confluence and Snapshots and Xray, where the report, where the release documentation is basically generated. Yes. So what I will do, I will share a link where there is a full article on our website that covers a lot of the technical details here. Unfortunately, I do not think that I will be able to go into all the technical details, but maybe give you a little bit of very quick. Deepak, do I have still a few minutes? Yes.
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 Yeah, still
Okay.
10 more minutes.
Yes. So I will. You know what? I will quickly show a few resources so that you will have pointers to look at later on. So the first thing I wanted to show, which is really readily available to everybody who uses Jira, is how we build the automation. So if I look here, this is basically the rule, the automatic rule that runs inside Jira when I triggered GitHub workflow with snapshots. So the condition or the trigger that runs the test is just the manually trigger from the issue, and that's why it appears in the drop-down menu from the issue itself. And then there's a web request that is being sent to trigger this particular action or workflow inside Git. And you can, let's say, if you know how to write workflows in Git, the sky here is really the limit. You can do wonderful things just by the fact that you can trigger from Jira Automation, run an execution to an execution to a GitHub action, and I can even pass two inputs. So I pass the issue key and the issue idea. And these two parameters are sufficient for later on allowing the Xray API to access the execution, find which tests need to be executed, and inject back the result into Xray. So all this magic is really facilitated by Jira Automation. The second thing that I want to show is here in snapshots. Each snapshot has an API endpoint. So when you edit them on the page, you have a tab for the automation endpoint. You just need to enable it, and you get the URL and the key that allows you to actually trigger from anywhere in the outside world, if you have all the information that you need and all the authentication, to trigger an extra snapshot to the page and basically generate a new version of the report. So I will, I think, conclude here, and we'll leave enough time, I hope, for questions. So I hope there are questions.
Yeah, Rina. Piyush here.
Hi,
So,
Piotr.
so eventually we've got few questions. So One of them was mine, but I'll go with another one. So Vivek here is asking for any option to bring in data from Jenkins or Bamboo.
Yes. So uh, I am less familiar with Bamboo, but Jenkins for sure. So the um interface that we used in order to bring data in is there are few parts for it. One of it was just the normal Xray API, and that is available from any platform. It just needs to have an API. And then Xray, as far as I know, has a specific add-on for Jenkins as well to allow you to transverse through these annotations. If you don't have it, meaning you can develop it for sure, but I do hope that, like in the case, meaning the demo that I created was basically inspired by one of my customers that just found an X-ray, a PyTest, GitHub tool that he could use. But I think there are similar tools for Jenkins. I do not know them by heart. But Jenkins is such a big issue for X-ray that I'm sure you can find something.
Thanks,
I'm,
Rina.
in short, I'm optimistic about it, but I don't know exactly to point you to the right name of the plugin.
Sounds good. And there was something from my side as well. So um, it's kind of tricky. So testing team with you said that testing teams collides with the development team, right?
Yes.
That's one of the case. What if we are saying that testing team with development team versus testing team with AI who looks after for all sort of acceptance criteria and definition of done DoD. So which would be efficient, let's say in terms of timeline to have this process enabled, in terms of a positive ROI. So in your point of view or probably use case, which one aligns better with a better ROI?
Do you? I want to see if I understood the question. Is it better to invest in doing AI, using AI for testing quickly, or should we rather invest in a more structured testing to ensure that we eventually have the release documentation?
Yeah, actually, that's what.
Yes, it's 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 kind of a great question. I can say that in the case of when you need really from legal perspective to have the release documentation and the proof of test coverage, eh, you will have eventually to have the test reviewed and approved to demonstrate that you have coverage. So you can get assistance from AI to write the test, and you can then review them and fix them and correct them and put them into the formal structure. Do you understand what I mean? You cannot replace, so AI in those particular instances cannot come instead of the formal test coverage. That's the problem in those particular, you have no choice. You have to have the test coverage, and you need to find the most efficient way to achieve test coverage. But in my mind, you can use AI as well. So you don't need to choose. You can get assistance from AI, and then you will need to have this extra human review for what the AI generated and put that into the formal structure.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, actually, that explains because generally everything is AI. So people are in a position whether to use AI versus to not to use AI.
I can tell you, I was even in another context when I write currently articles to my, for example, blog post. I never only use AI. but I do interact with AI while I write it because AI helps me generate new ideas and sometimes it improves my English and so on. And that's how I see the role in AI also when you write tests. So get AI assistants to help you brainstorm, give you suggestion, but you as the human, you are always in the driving seat.
Hmm, nice. Okay, Dan, thanks for that. Actually, do we have any other questions? Anyone else? So, Reena, eventually, Deepak had to go out. He had to drop off because of some urgent calls. I don't
Okay,
think I'll be here to make a wrap up, but that was a very lovely session from you.
thank you.
I'm still waiting for someone else to ask questions over here. I see one from Vivek. It's more like a story, test case, execution, code based result, traceability report for the manager or reviewer. Uh, Vivek, can you elaborate more on that?
I Bibek, are you interested to see a traceability where the hierarchy is story, test case, execution, or maybe I'm not understanding what you want, what you ask.
No, no, actually, that is what something I wanted to give some insight to what Piyush is asking. This is just the traceability which a manager can review or the reviewer. But anything in between that, where we need more clarity, we can always involve, like for language translation or anything for that matter. AI can help, but the legal things and all that cannot be done by the AI for test cases. As per my understanding.
Sorry, the sound quality was not great. Was there a question there, Piyush, in
No,
your?
no, no, no. Actually, he
Okay.
was saying that what I asked versus what he was asking in more form of traceability is kind of relevant.
Hmm.
Probably, Vivek will surely reach out to you after this, and actually, I really liked it because whenever it comes to uh, the testing process, the whole mindset of a development gets shifted to a tester or QA guy, a QA person. So
Hmm.
we have to rethink the whole possibility in another parallel world. Uh,
Yes.
but I really like this session.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you, Piyush, and thank you for the people who joined. And I think that some people joined also from other places in the world. So wherever you are, thank you. And I'm available on LinkedIn. I feel free to reach out and ask follow-up questions. And I will also share with Deepak some of the links and the presentation itself. He will share with you in he or Piyush will share with whatever way that they can share.
sure. Thanks, Rina. So,
Okay.
any more questions? Feel free to add a raise a bug request for Rina. Okay, that should be good enough.
Yes, yes,
And probably I'll surely connect with you because I really like that GitHub thing, GitLab thing, doing all the test cases thing. Because till now, what I have done is just create using Xray or Zephyr or probably just with the test cases and just marking them manually as good to go, not good to go, pass, not pass. But yeah, connecting other tools and everything is actually the better use. Is actually the better money that we are paying use of the money that we are paying for.
yes. Great. Thank you. I'm happy you enjoyed and it was nice being with you today.
Sure. Thank you, Rina. Thank you all. I'll just give you all guys back your evening, morning, and probably night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.